It's quite a powerful and beautiful thing for someone to obligate their life to the service of others, especially if you yourself haven't fled a country or perhaps been part of a genocide, but actually just out of the purity of heart to dedicate such life and service to other people. So today I'm super excited to be speaking to our guest, Mark, who has lived a life of that and continues to live a life of that. So Mark, first tell me, how are you?
I'm really good, thanks, Sophia. Thanks for inviting me to speak. Really good to be here.
Oh, the pleasure is ours completely. Before I ask you what your hope hit is, I'm just going to quickly explain what it is to our listeners. So, a hope hit is basically a song that brings light back into your body or into your heart, a song that helps you feel empowered, helps you remember your faith in people, in yourself. Ultimately, it's a song that inspires you to keep putting one foot in front of the other or even celebrate where you are now. So, with that being said, Mark, tell me, what is your hope hit? And tell me why as well.
Yeah, sure. There are so many songs we could choose, but for me, I've gone with a bit of an 80s throwback, a bit of an 80s anthem that,
Mm,
for me, really gets me going again. I continue to hear it. It's just one of those classics that seems to stay with us. And my
mm.
hope hit is called Gold by Spandau Ballet.
Amazing, amazing. What is it about the song, do you think, that makes it so special to you and makes it your hope hit?
Lots of things. I mean, first, it's just one of those classics. It's really easy to sing along. It's something that's been in the background, I guess, of it in the soundtrack of my life. I remember hearing it on the
Mm,
radio when I was a child in the back of, my mum and dad's car and probably singing
mm,
along on the way on holidays and things like that. But it's one of those songs you keep hearing again at weddings. It's a bit of a favorite. It's one of those karaoke favorites when you're together with all your friends and everyone's really singing together. But I think also reflecting on the wording, it's about believing in yourself.
mm,
Always believe in your soul. You're indestructible.
mm.
Always believe, and it's a real pick me up kind of
Yeah,
anthem, I guess, when you need that lift.
yeah. I guess that's the reason it's used in so many bright occasions, like you said. It's weddings, it's road trips, and I think it's quite incredible how music and emotion are so closely related, and you see it in songs like this because I think even just the style of the song as well is so nostalgic in its feel, not just because it's nostalgic, but I think even if I heard it back when it came out, I feel like it was made with nostalgia in mind as well. Do you remember
Mm.
the first time you heard it?
N- Not the first actual time. I would have been quite young, but I do remember it, it playing in the house, and I do remember it in the car on road
Mm,
trips and singing along with my parents. And
mm,
it's just carried on. I think nostalgia is a really great way to describe this one. Actually, it's one of those nostalgic songs that just never goes away. Though it still stays with us, and it still feels relevant, and it still feels of its time now. If you put it on now with a group of friends, I'm sure we'd all be able to sing along. So
yeah, I guess that speaks to the connective power of the song as well. That I think in any corner of the globe, I think in many corners of the globe, you could probably put on the chorus to this song and it's going to bring people together that maybe don't even speak the same languages, but they'll know the chorus. I remember I was in Gambia, which is West Africa, a while ago, and I was in a lounge there one evening and they were playing ABBA, and I was looking around at all of these people as far west coast Africa as you could possibly be, singing along to ABBA. And I just remember thinking music is such a powerful thing. It's arguably the most connective thing we might have to give each other.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so you've done so much and you've worked with so many people and you've been to so many places, but I just want to understand what made you get into it in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm with UNHCR now with the UK charity arm, UK for UNHCR. I've
Mm,
been with UNHCR about 8 years now, actually. I
mm,
started in Sydney on the other side of the world.
yeah.
And I was head of comms and PR with Australia for UNHCR. And there we were also fundraising to support international relief efforts that UNHCR was doing. Um, what got me into it? Well, my career before that actually was quite different. I was in film and television. I was in always in
Interesting.
communications and as a publicist, but quite a different world to the humanitarian sector. I've always
Mm,
been interested in moving into the humanitarian sector. I just fell into this career in film and TV, and I really enjoy that too. And there were international comms roles, really interesting co-productions, documentaries we'd be involved with. So having that curiosity about the world globally as well, I think was always there. And it came a moment where I moved to Australia, and I was between jobs and I was looking for work, and I saw a volunteer role working with a charity called Diaspora Action Australia, but it was working with diaspora communities in Melbourne who were from war-torn countries, and particularly working with the Afghan community and the South Sudanese community in Melbourne. It just really struck a chord with me, and I was really moved by the stories of the people I met, but also their determination and what they had been through and survived. And then to move to a completely different country on the other side of the world, and then to have to rebuild from scratch. It really motivated me, and I was working with the community leaders. It was to help build community relations, but also to help the community represent itself and have a voice with local governments and with other authorities. So it was really rewarding, and that's how I thought about, what can I do with my skills to move into this sector, and it's through that I was able to start working with UNHCR. If I could add just the experience more generally to anyone listening who's thinking about making that move, it's not uncommon for people to get into their career, perhaps in a different sector, and they think, I'd like to use my skills for a purpose or for something, that I believe in. Go for it. Look out for volunteer jobs. There are lots of opportunities. Volunteering really helps charities, but it can also really help you get experience, meet new people, meet new communities, and just really inspire you and help you bridge to get into that work.
Did you ever think you would? I think coming from, I guess communications is communications, but coming from such a starkly different world where arguably it's not, I wouldn't say self-serving, but I think film and TV in general, it is kind of, everyone has their individual role to play, and it's not necessarily to help each other change each other's lives as such. That's not the first intention. Did you ever see yourself transitioning and pivoting into such a service role?
I think it was an aspiration as I progressed in my career, and I used to think about how could I get into the humanitarian sector, using my comms experience. I think because one of my roles in TV was with BBC, so I was there with BBC Worldwide for quite a while. So that does also have those public service values in terms of education through radio and through TV for communities.
Right.
But certainly I was very interested in the international aspect and really trying to get into the humanitarian sector.
That's so powerful. That's so beautiful as well. I think the other day, in an interview, someone asked me, do you feel a responsibility towards your listeners, basically? We were talking about this idea of responsibility and how different people, everyone feels responsible for something, and different people are responsible in different areas. And you've kind of taken it upon yourself to be responsible for people that don't have a voice, people that have been displaced. And I wonder if you could speak about that for a moment. Why do you obligate yourself to that? Or what have you maybe seen or experienced that has made you realize how important it is?
Yeah, lots of things motivate me. I feel, to be honest, I feel lucky to be able to do what I do. I have friends who say, I wish I could do something. We see this happening on the news. We know this is happening on the world. And at UK for UNHCR, in our small way, we're making a difference. We are able to communicate. We're able to make sure refugees are not forgotten, to give a voice to people with lived experience through our platforms and our campaigns. Really give credit to our colleagues who are on the ground, in conflict zones, in the most extraordinary circumstances. They're working 24/7 to keep people safe, to get people to safety. It's not easy, often separated from their own family members for weeks or months at a time in quite dangerous conditions. So it feels like there's a global community of people who are working so hard to help people fleeing conflict and persecution. Of course, no one is feeling it more than the people who are fleeing themselves.
And you've traveled as well, so you've gone and you've sat and you've broken bread with many people in many places that have experienced war, genocide, displacement, some of like the real atrocities of society, really. What did that do to shift your perspective?
more than anything, it really embeds putting a human face on what are often headlines, global
Mm,
issues, global crises. We know there are conflicts and we're responding to them, and we're trying to raise awareness and make sure the world doesn't turn away. But nothing is more powerful than being face to face, perhaps in that
mm,
country, with somebody who's opening up and sharing perhaps what's quite traumatic for them, really. But sharing their story with you because they want you to understand, they want you to take that story away, they want you to bring that story to our audiences back here in the UK to make sure that we can raise support, but also promote inclusion and make sure that we're not looking away. So I think
mm.
that's quite profound for anyone working in the space, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Was there a particular maybe story, experience, or moment in your
Yeah.
travels that really, really left an impact with you?
Yes.
I'm sure there were many.
There are many. There are many. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a poet, so I have an example actually of a poetry session, which is might seem unusual, but I was in
Wow.
Ukraine 2 winters ago, and winter's very very cold in Ukraine. It's
Right.
actually something we're focused on as a charity now. Is how we're going to help people survive winter in countries where temperatures really plummet. We'd been out, we'd seen the arrival of one of the evacuation trains while we were there, coming from the east of the country where there really is live conflict, where these trains come to the west where it's safer. There are still air raids, of course, but we'd been at the train, seeing people arriving. They'd had literally one or two bags, families, older people. Our teams had been there giving warm clothing, blankets, helping them get transit to where they were going to next. But on that trip in the evening, I was at a community centre, and they have support activities for people who are displaced, who are now in emergency shelters, but have perhaps been there for months. They
Mm,
just can't go home because it's not safe. And I met this incredible woman called Olga, she'd now be 73.
mm,
Um, the most inspiring, positive energy she had, despite what she had been through. She was from Kharkiv, so in the east of the country. She'd been there when the full-scale invasion began with her daughter, with her son-in-law and her little grandson, and they'd been stuck in the basement for 2 weeks with relentless
wow.
shelling above. They couldn't leave the house. And when there was a gap, very reluctantly, they finally realized they had to get out. So they did leave. And she told me how much she missed her home and her rose garden and her
Mm,
friends. And she's now living in this shelter where some rooms have 2 or 3 generations living together. It was very moving because she was there with a group of other older Ukrainians. Everyone was in their 70s and 80s, and they'd
mm.
come together and formed this support group. And that night, they were all
Wow.
sharing poems that they had written.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. I can't speak
Mm,
Ukrainian, but I could feel the emotion, and it was a really
yeah.
moving evening. I felt quite privileged to share that with them. But
Yeah.
he said to me, please tell people what's happening here. Please tell people not to forget us.
Oh.
And I carry that with me. I knew Olga that night would be safe in one of our collective shelters, but there are many more like Olga who are still not safe, who are still in conflict zones, who are going to be facing very, very cold temperatures this winter. So the
Mm,
question is, how are we going to keep them safe this winter? What can we do to help them, whether it's
yeah.
in Syria, whether it's in Afghanistan, whether it's in Ukraine?
Yeah, yeah. My goodness. That's a real testament to, I think you said it at the beginning and the end, that sometimes the term refugee and migrant, because of the news, the term itself has kind of been so weaponized. I think when you charge the word with so much, you stop thinking about them as humans, you stop thinking about them as Olga, who's in her 70s and 80s and actually lived a
Mhm.
very beautiful life and loved the place she came from and tended to her rose garden and writes poetry, and then suddenly it changes. No one flees their land unless they have to. It's not a desire of people as such. It's something they do when they absolutely must. Coming back to music, so in these different places you've been, and like you said, sometimes their joy, or like that, just their ability to capture joy or find moments of joy whilst they're going through something so unimaginable, so devastating. I don't know what I don't know what is a light in someone in the middle of those moments. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's something you've come across loads of times. What do you think it is that just allows people to have a smile on their face whilst they're going through such insane things?
Because, yeah, people fleeing conflict are going through, probably the worst moments of their life. When I
Mm,
meet them, they found safety somewhere, and there's
right,
a sense of relief.
right.
They've found connections with community, which I know is the theme of this campaign. And
Mhm,
women like Olga, for example, they had fled and they were now in a new town on the other side of the country. Refugees may
mm,
be in another country altogether, of course, but they had connected with a new community and they were feeling welcomed and they were feeling supported. And I think
mm,
that's the first step. It's trying to normalize post-flight, how you're feeling. It's trying to get
right.
children back into education so things start to feel a bit more routine.
Mm,
Um, in terms of what makes people smile, yeah, it might be memories, it might be connecting with
mm,
someone else who can empathize with them, who's also, sadly fled, perhaps.
mm.
But also finding those happy moments. Olga spoke a lot about her grandson who's with her, and she's got him into a local school so he can keep his
Ah,
education going. And they would celebrate his birthday and um, make sure that they're trying to normalize daily life as much as possible. There are moments of hope too, aren't there? And
mm,
I suppose we're seeing in Syria changes in the last year that mean that Syrians are now able to return to some parts of the country, and we've been seeing thousands of Syrian refugees returning
ah,
home. Not everyone can. A lot of the country is it's not possible to return everywhere, but some places it is, and that gives hope. That gives a sense. Well, conflicts they can actually end. It doesn't feel like it at the moment, but there are some conflicts
mm,
that are ending, and we hope all conflicts will end eventually, but
yeah,
there is hope. So that's part of what we do as well at UNHCR. How do we help people return when it's safe
yeah,
and help them rebuild? Winter is coming to Syria as well. It will be very, very cold.
yeah,
Families are going back. They're full of hope, but they are going back to neighborhoods which are quite often destroyed. Infrastructure is not
mm,
working. They may even find their own house or apartment, has been destroyed during earlier years. So, how can we help them return but be safe and survive the winter while they try to rebuild their lives?
yeah. What are some of the things you do, to help?
There are lots of ways in terms of winter relief. It's real survival items. So for people who are displaced and don't have shelter, how do we get them to safety? Blankets, warm clothing, fuel as well. To keep heating going to keep a heater going that might keep
Mm,
your tent or your room warm. Um, it's construction things as well, which sounds a bit different, but it's helping repair windows. If your windows have
mm,
been smashed by a shelling or a bomb blast, that's going to be letting a lot of cold in if it's
yeah,
minus 10 degrees. So we have programs that help people make repairs, basic repairs, so that they can try and keep their apartment warm. And in some areas, Lebanon, for example, and Afghanistan, displaced people may be living in tents, and you can only imagine how cold it must feel and how difficult it is to keep
yeah,
your family warm in a tent when it's minus 10 outside. So, fuel and heating, but also extra layers to help keep the heat inside the tents, and basic solutions like that as well, we're trying to deliver.
yeah. That's so important. It is not to say these are simple things, but they are the things that maybe we don't think about here in the UK. We don't remember to be grateful for them because we don't assume they're ever going to be taken away. Much like a lot of these people as well in these places.
It's a it's such a common thing when you speak to people with lived experience time and again. People say, I never thought this would happen to me. I
Mm,
never expected this. Even um, people who I know who were in areas where there was conflict and it might have got closer, but they kept hanging on. They kept going to work. They didn't want to move because they thought, no, things will get better. And only in the very last resort, you feel you have to abandon your home and leave. So
yeah. It's awful and it brings so much perspective um onto so many things. I think does really expedite the importance of where you can help where you can, even if it's in the UK, donate a blanket, donate clean socks, donate wet wipes, whatever it might be that people on our own doorsteps need. It's such an important thing because it's not a life anyone would choose. You know, I think there seems to be this idea that people, almost like people are choosing to live in these circumstances and experiences. People are choosing to come to the country. People are choosing, like, as if they're skipping and they're happy to be leaving their home, and it's just not the case. When you are kind of traversing through these different places and having these conversations that are so emotional and they're so heavy and they're so real and so sensitive, what do you keep telling yourself? So what do you keep telling yourself to keep going and to keep pushing on and to keep trying? What's something that rings in your own head?
I think it's the theme of this campaign, right? It's keeping that hope. You know, if the people we are here to serve can keep hope alive and
Mm,
rebuild and go through what they're doing, then we can absolutely keep going to make sure that they keep getting the help they need, that the world doesn't turn away, that they're that they're not forgotten.
mm,
Um, that's really what drives a lot of us. And even in
mm,
our own team, we have colleagues who have themselves, personal experience of displacement as well. So that really helps inform our team as a whole and keep
mm.
connected, as well as the work we do directly with refugees.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, Mark, just well done, and thank you so much as well for the work that you're doing. Is there a way that listeners can get involved or help, or are there programs that are open to people donating, especially coming up to the end of the year?
Absolutely. Well, number one, let's get this hope playlist going, because this is
Yeah.
a really great way to reach a lot of people who
Yeah.
might not be thinking about refugee issues, or they might not be thinking
Mm,
about international conflicts. But everyone loves the music. It's a great universal way to
yeah.
get connected and to build a community. But beyond that, I would say please think about supporting our winter appeal. This is our biggest fundraising appeal of the year, every
Okay.
year, because the needs are just so high on the ground when it comes to winter, especially.
Mm,
So you can visit our website and make a donation today. But there are other ways to get involved as well. Follow our social media channels, share our information, uh, visit our website to see how you could help refugees in your own community. If you know of a refugee support group, maybe you could go and volunteer your services.
mm,
You could be a mentor. There are organizations that help refugees in the UK who are newly arrived. To find work in the UK, to put together their CVs. So there are lots of ways to support refugees through us. Absolutely, please donate to support our international relief efforts. But also think about here in the UK, in your community, what could you do? Who is there who might need help?
mm. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for the important work that you do. And I just hope and pray that you remain safe and strong and brave as you continue to do this important work. It really is changing so many lives and then informing so many other people who can also help change so many more lives. So Mark, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today and for your hope hit as well. We're gonna add it to the playlist.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Sophia. It's great to meet you. And thanks for supporting the campaign as well.
Oh, of course, of course. Listeners, you can actually nominate your own Hope Hip, and all of these songs of hope will be added to our Hope on Repeat playlist. Alongside voting, you can also find more stories, more music, and more work that we're doing to support displaced people around the world at unrefugees.org.uk. Thank you all so much. My name is Sophia Thakur. I'm a poet, and we will catch up soon. But until then, please keep hope on repeat.